Okay, hi everyone. Welcome back to my channel, Mystic's Table. Today we'll be doing session 9 of our Ironsworn campaign. So last session we left off on kind of cliffhanger, if you will. So let's do a quick recap. So Albrun, he had made his way west from Mattick's clearing in order to investigate um, the dead elven bodies that were left by the river. If we remember correctly, while Albrun and Mattick were being kidnapped and taken to who knows where by the elves, Mattick's golems, rock golems, appeared in the woods. You know, they were still bound by his will, and they appeared and bludgeoned the five elves to death. The elves fought valiantly. If I remember correctly, it was like seven, or it was a lot of golems, and the elves did pretty good. I think it was 7-5. I think that's what it was. It was seven golems versus five elves. The elves managed to take out five of the golems and left two of them. So the elves did pretty good, but the golems ultimately won, and they freed their master Mattick. Um, and Albrun ended up swearing an iron vow to Mattick, a formidable vow, which is our first formidable vow in the campaign. So I'm definitely interested to see how this is going to go. This is going to be one of those longer vows, I think. Um, and this vow was to deal with the elves that threatened Mattick and his home. So kind of vague, kind of a big thing. Mattick actually took it as a joke. I don't even think he took Albrun seriously when Albrun swore that vow. But Albrun is going to see it through. And so, yeah, that's why Albrun made his way back to the river to investigate the dead elven bodies, because he wanted to gather information to see what he could find out. He wanted to see if maybe he could figure out where these elves are from, what their intentions are. Who knows? Maybe they had written orders on them, something that could indicate what our next steps were. And while Albrun was investigating those bodies, I'm pretty sure we rolled a miss on the gather information. So we ended up having to pay the price, and that price was a host of elves arrived. Assume, presumably, the five dead elves had called for backup at some point, and so a host of elves arrived and shot Albrun through the shoulder. So he's on the ground in a lot of pain right now, and some elf captain, lord, whatever, riding a gaunt has come into the clearing with the river and has basically instructed his elven warriors to capture Albrun, and that's where we left off. So yeah. Oh, and before we get started, I did want to mention I decided that I was going to mark progress on one of our active vows. That vow was the convince Elder Mystic Mattick to help Grimbrook. And the reason why I felt justification in marking progress was because we swore this new vow to Mattick, this formidable vow to deal with the elves, and he basically, like, he did kind of scoff and laugh at us, but he basically agreed that if we somehow managed to deal with this elf issue and Mattick's home is safe, which is the thing he cares most about, that's like his character goal slash drive. If we manage to deal with this issue, he is willing to come perform those druidic services that he's supposed to be doing annually. And I feel like since we actually carved that plan out and, you know, kind of made a path for that, I feel like that's significant progress in that vow, because now we have like an actual like actionable plan to make it happen. So that's why I marked the progress. That was a dangerous vow, so it's two progress boxes. So we have 2 out of 10 boxes on that vow. Okay, so I think we are going to hop right in. And so this elf lord on the gaunt, is saying, take him, capture him. I want him bound and gagged. Because he can see Albrun's silver eyes. And so he knows that Albrun is of skull descent. And, I imagine you don't want a mystic to have their hands and mouth free. But I think actually what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and do an immediate roll. We're going to try to actually get ahead of this. And so right after this elf lord says this, Albrun is immediately like, wait. I can help you. And the elf's like, help me? And he looks around and he says, you're surrounded by elven corpses. And he's like taking a look at these elf corpses, because if you remember correctly, they were killed by the golems that were like, and those golems like absolutely like bludgeoned them to death. So like almost all these elves like don't even have a head anymore. It's like they have like stumps on their necks. The masks that they wear that are like so important to them in their culture are like shattered and stuff. And so this elf lord is not very happy. And I think Albrun is also going to jump on that and say, this clearly was not my doing. I'm not even armed. Remember, he doesn't even have his sword anymore. And Albrun's going to say, does it look like I could kill 5 of your warriors with my bare hands? And I think the elf lord is going to pause and, kind of assess Albrun. And Albrun again is going to assert, I can help you. Why are you here? Why are you after Mattick? So to me, kind of sounds like gather information, but I actually feel like this is more of a compel. We are trying to get these elves to not bind us. We're sitting here with Albrun sitting here with his, holding his shoulder and stuff, and he doesn't want to get gagged and bound. So this sounds to me like a compel. And then maybe it's a compel into gather information is what it kind of sounds like to me. So we're going to compel here. And to me, this sounds like a compel plus heart. Sounds like to me we are convincing, maybe even charming a little bit, trying to tell them that we can help. Okay? So let's roll +2. Okay, that's a 4 on the action die, +2 is a 6, versus a 2 and a 6. Guys, I took some time to really think about how I want this session to go, and I did not want us to end up in a roadblock. So I think I'm going to burn momentum here. We have 10 momentum. I think I'm going to burn momentum here and cancel that 6 die so that this can be a strong hit, because I really want to push the story forward. So we're going to go down to 2 +2 momentum, and we're going to cancel that 6, and this is now a strong hit. So on a strong hit, they'll do what you want and share what they know. Take +1 momentum. If you use this exchange to gather information, make that move now and add +1. So we're going to go up to 3 momentum, and we are going to go ahead and compel. And so I think this elf lord, he's going to hold up his hand, basically telling the warrior that was about to go bind Albrun to stop. And he's going to look a little puzzled, but he says, perhaps you can help us, Ironlander. And how's this gonna go? I think this elven lord, because you know what? Here's what we're gonna do. And I think as this elven lord says that, another elf appears from the tree line that was actually in the direction of Mattick's clearing. Is going to come out of the tree line. And this elf is, unlike the other elves, I guess I forgot to describe their appearance. This elf lord, I imagine that he is in a very nice silk like tunic, probably a whitish color, I think. But the tunic is cinched by armor pieces, and this armor looks like wooden plates, but I imagine it's actually much more durable than regular wood. So he has like wood plated greaves and armor on his arms, and a nice good uh, wood plate, like breastplate with shoulder pads. And I actually imagine he even has a cape as well to denote his rank as an elf lord. And all elves wear a mask, and each mask is very unique to an elf. There is no um, mask that is like another for the elves. Um, so very intricately carved. I think his mask is probably made out of like an oakish kind of wood, that actually I feel like matches his skin tone kind of. Like I imagine him having like a pale green brown skin tone, and multicolored eyes, the big luminous eyes that you can see through the masks. And I also imagine that his hair is quite long, probably down to halfway down his back, and I think it would be silver. And the other elven warriors look similarly, but don't have such detail. Like I imagine they don't have like the nice helmet that he has along with his mask. Of course, they all do have masks. None of them have capes, and they have those wooden armor pieces, but I imagine it's not as much or as detailed as this elf lord. But anyways, one of these elf warriors comes out of the tree line. We're still in this river clearing. He comes from the direction of Mattick's place, and he speaks to this elf lord, and he says, "My lord, the mystic has fortified his home. It's those creatures, those things that he commands. They surround his clearing, and it's as if the very trees themselves have been given life, and they block all paths in." Okay, and so this elf lord is going to nod, and look back to Albrun and say, "I think you will be of service. I'm going to take you to my lady, and we shall see what use you could be." Um, and he's not very happy with Albrun, I don't think. But at the same time, we have to remember there's a reason why they kidnapped Mattick alive, and there's a reason why the first time they, took Albrun into custody, they only slapped him across the jaw and didn't do any lethal damage. So clearly, they want these two alive, and I think the common denominator, obviously, between Mattick and Albrun is that they're both mystics. They're both of skull descent, so I think that's going to play a huge part in what comes next. So I think they're actually going to continue to actually bind Albrun. I think they're going to not gag him, though, but they're going to bind his hands behind his back. But before they leave, Albrun's going to watch pretty carefully, because remember, he was raised by an elf, so he knows a bit about their cultural significance. And the five bludgeoned elven bodies, the warriors are actually going to, some of them have packs on. They're going to take off their packs and get like these silk tarps that they have, probably what they use as like tent material or lean-to material when they're out and about. And they're going to make makeshift cots for each of these five dead elves. And they're going to actually meticulously go around the clearing and pick up every single piece of the shattered masks that these bludgeoned elves once wore. Because remember, those rock golems like bludgeoned them to death with their fists. So I imagine that the masks they were wearing got shattered. And it's as if each elf can actually detect which piece goes to which mask, because the masks all have every single piece that was once in their full form, like on, I imagine, like sitting on the chest of these dead elves in the cot. And this is significant because, as Albert knows, elves place a lot of significance on their burial rites. And who knows, perhaps we will witness that when we go wherever we're going. So I think this elf lord, after hearing this report from one of his scouts about Mattick now fortifying his clearing, I think the elves are actually going to turn around and go back to where they came, because, at least from my understanding, it seems to me they probably don't want to spill any more elvish blood unnecessarily, and it definitely seems like Mattick is not going to go down without a fight. It almost seems like they have what they wanted. They have a mystic, and I think that's exactly why they were kidnapping Mattick at this point. Okay, so I think this convoy of elves is going to lead Albrun, who's now bound, through the deep wilds. I imagine that this trip is going to take. Um, I can't imagine it being that far, perhaps half an hour to an hour. Um, and to give an update on the time of day, I think at this point we are past noon, not quite late evening yet, so the sun is kind of still out, but maybe it's on its way to setting. That also reminds me, just to let you guys know, we do still have 9 nights till Overseer Canara's trial, so that's also something to keep in mind. But as we make our way through the deep wilds and along this path led by this elf lord, um, we are going to get closer and closer to what seems to be a settlement. And so the trees are getting, well, no, actually, no, I would say the trees are actually getting thicker. And this elf lord actually has to dismount his gaunt in order to continue to navigate. But I think as we get further and further from Maddox's place, these elvish warriors are going to start to relax a little bit more and aren't going to be so tense, hands on their spears and bows kind of thing. Like they're going to kind of relax a little bit as they get closer to home. And we are going to arrive to the elvish settlement of Fi Thalore. So I did a little bit of pre-writing. So as we walk into this clearing, we see this just majestic, huge glade. So it's almost as big as like a field, like a huge 100-yard field. I mean, it's absolutely ginormous. Um, and around this field is these huge like sycamore trees, redwoods, that reach sky high. And at the tops of these redwoods are like armaments, so like kind of like tree houses where you can see like elvish warriors with their bows and stuff, and there's like drawbridges between the huge redwoods and sycamore trees. And so that seems like this place isn't walled, but that seems like their line of defense kind of thing, and I imagine it's quite effective. But in the actual field, it's like this isn't just like a field. It's as big as a field, but it's not a field. It's like multi-layered. So there's like hills and stuff, and you have cute wooden bridges connecting the different layers in this glade. And then you have this beautiful elvish architecture with these houses that have peaked roofs. They're very lean. There's like support beams. It's just beautiful. And spiraling staircases. And then in the troughs of the glade, like between the hills, you have like ever flowing creeks. And like I said, wooden bridges built over that. I mean, it's just a very peaceful place. Um, and what else? Yeah. And the air is like really cool and temperate here. And you have sunlight just kind of like having rays like gleam through the place. Like you can see like just like rays of sunlight fracturing through the leaves that surround of the trees that surround Fi Thalore. Um, and I would say that this place is home to over 100 elves. So it's pretty populated. You can see elvish children running across these bridges through the glade. Like I said, you see those warriors up in the sycamore trees, some of them in the actual glade. You see just regular common folk elves who aren't armed or anything, but just tending to their duties, filling their water basins, socializing. It's a very beautiful place. And I think as we enter the glade and this elvish lord gets off of his gaunt and has a servant take it away, and we're walking, I would say, to the other edge of the glade, a lot of these elvish folk stop their socializing and stuff and are like looking at this returning lord. I'm sure they all recognize him and his warriors. I don't. I would actually. I wouldn't even say all the warriors follow. It was about a dozen of them, but they kind of disperse now that they're here. And I would say two warriors are in this convey. So it's the elf lord, Albrun, and two warriors. One warrior has Albrun secured, making sure he doesn't try anything. And they're heading towards one of these more taller buildings with the peaked roofs and stuff. And like I said, these common folk are like taking time to like look at Albrun because they can definitely see he's not an elf. He's not as tall as an elf. His skin tone is definitely not elvish. His eyes are definitely not elvish, so they can tell he's an Ironlander. But we make our way towards this tall like spire of a building. And the elf lord, he doesn't even knock. He kind of lets himself in. And we travel up this beautiful winding oak staircase up into this room. We're going to enter this room. I say it has silk curtains that are kind of translucent, so we can kind of see into the room before we ever pull the curtains back. And this room, it's like very wide. There's not even like any furniture, no chairs or nothing like that. It's just a nice open space of a room, and on from the ceilings and the walls and from support beams, you just have these like beautiful crystal wind chimes just everywhere, different colored, multicolored glass. The windows are beautiful. Again, you have this sunlight streaming in. It looks like a very relaxing, natural place. And in the center of the room, you have this woman. And she, let's see, uh, she wears, she too wears a white silk tunic, but it's more of a gown than it is a tunic, unlike the elf lord. She has no armor. Her mask is elderwood. Yeah, it's elderwood, so it's like a pinkish white. It's a beautiful mask. She has various jewelry, but here in the Ironlands, even for the elves, there's not a lot of gold, silver, or precious gems to be had. And so her jewelry looks like it's made out of branches, like tree branches. So she has like a branched bracelet and like branches coming off of her ears as earrings, and I would say maybe some like flowers woven into her hair. And I think her hair is like a raven black. She looks kind of like a youngish elf, definitely an adult, but on the younger side, unlike the captain who had that silver hair and is probably more of a veteran. And I would say her skin is probably, I want to say a pale green, with her black hair. Yeah, and she has in that silk kind of tunic gown she has actually has a hood which she has on. And she kind of just looks like a wingless angel, I guess. Very beautiful. And so we make our way in, and this elf lord comes in and says, "My lady, the mystic has fortified himself in his glade, has made himself quite unreachable, and unfortunately we have lost 5 of our warriors." And the lady, like I said, she was standing in the center of the room. I would say like her head was bowed before they came in, and she like looks up now and she nods somberly, and I think she says, I knew this was to come. And I had foreseen you'd be bringing a visitor. And she looks at Albrun. And the elves aren't surprised by what she just said, but Albrun looks at her quizzically. She had foreseen his coming, and she knew that, they had died. And I think this elf lord is actually going to go ahead and make an introduction and is going to talk to Albrun and say, This is the Lady Inula, the High Seer of Fi Thalore. You are to address her with respect. And I think Albrun is gonna actually go ahead and bow really quickly. Yeah, his arms are still bound or whatever, and yeah, and I think Anula is going to say, "We could not get Mattick, but I see you brought that of Scold Blood here in his place." And I think she's going to talk to Albrun directly now and is going to say, she's going to ask, she's going to ask, she's gonna say, no, she's not even gonna ask. She's gonna say, but he is unmarked. What good could he be to our purpose? And I think Albrun is gonna actually speak up here and say, what purpose is this you speak of? Perhaps I can help. Albrun is pretty earnest about this because he wants to fix whatever this issue is, because this is obviously the issue of them trying to get Mattick. And I think, is this a gather info? I think this is, no, I don't know. I feel like gather information is when, I feel like a gather information role is when you don't have much narrative material to work with, but these elves definitely know what it is they want, and they're asking for Albrun's help, presumably. So I don't see why we would need to roll gather information. Like, I don't feel like you have to roll for everything in Ironsworn, and I feel like I feel like this is one of those situations where we can kind of just fill in the narrative gaps instead of rolling, per se. Because if we were to miss or get a weak hit, I don't even know what a complication would be. Because, again, they clearly have some information that we don't, and it seems like they are wanting our help. So, again, I don't think I'm going to roll. I think we're just going to keep going with the fiction here. And so, Lady Inula is going to say, there is a blight nearby. It's a cursed area. And for centuries, its origin and composition has been hidden from us with a very powerful ward. But as of a few days ago, there was a disruption in the veil. And I think Albrun's eyes are going to kind of, like his eyebrows are going to kind of raise, and he's going to interject, and he's going to say, the Iron Pillar, the Force Wave, you felt it here. And she's going to say, oh, you know of the Iron Pillar. And Albrun's going to say, I was there. I saw it as it went off. And I think this is going to catch Anula off guard, because she was looking at Albrun, seeing that he's unmarked and thinking that he doesn't have much to him. But I think this is going to kind of stir a little bit of curiosity for her. And she's going to say, yes, it was the Iron Pillar. Whatever force that was unleashed from it disrupted the ward of that blighted area. And after centuries of waiting, the winds were finally able to speak to me. Albrun's going to say, the winds spoke to you. And she's going to say, yes, the thing that is causing the blight is something is a threat we had thought had passed a long time ago. And just to let you guys know, I did do some pre-writing, and I'm working off of that prompt that we rolled last session with the cursed past. We rolled on the oracle to determine why the elves wanted Mattick, and the oracle said cursed past. So that's kind of what I'm going off of right now. And so she's gonna say, long ago, back when you humans first landed upon our shores on this continent, there was a mystic much like yourself, but much more experienced. He was marked all over. His name was Katagan, and he had fled his human settlement and found himself in the deep wilds. We had captured him, fearing the power he wielded. We had no idea the nature of you, Scold, and your abilities, and we had to experiment for ourselves and find out just what you were capable of. And Albrun's gonna kind of read between the lines here, and he's gonna kind of be thinking, they probably tortured this man, or experimented. Like, oh, that doesn't sound good. And she's gonna say, and when the wind spoke to me the day before last, it was revealed to me that this Katagan, after 2.5 centuries, still lives. He had escaped us and my family long ago, and had fled into a cavern, and we could not follow because he had erected very powerful wards with magic unfamiliar to us. And so we built Fi Thalore here so that we may monitor and watch him. And after some time, a blight appeared around this cave, this cavern he hid himself in, and it spread slowly, corrupting any plant life it touched, and anything that lived that crossed into the blight never left and would disappear. We were able to cast our own wards to keep this blight from spreading, and we have since made ourselves guardians of this cursed place since. But that's not the only thing the wind spoke to me of. There is an evil, a tainted evil inside of that cavern. Something outside of Katagan, but something in his control. And it frightens me. It's an evil I've never felt before. Larger than I have ever seen. Okay? And Albrun's gonna be kind of listening to all this, and he's like, oh crap, this does not sound good, obviously. And I think Lady Inula is just gonna straight up ask. I think Lady Inula is just gonna straight up, what's the word? Lay it out all on the table for Albrun. She's gonna say, we elves cannot enter that place. The corruption, it's as if the corruption was specifically designed to work against our very being. We can't get past those wards. We've tried over the centuries. And as I said, this magic Katagan wields, it's unfamiliar to us. It's of Scold origin. And so we need a mystic to bring those wards down so that we may confront Katagan and this evil that he holds in there and stop this. And I think Albrun's going to say, "Why now? You've warded Katagan off for all these centuries, and you've kept him here in this cavern. He somehow survived, well past a natural lifespan. Why are you bothering Mattick now? Why is this an issue now?" And I think Anula is going to go ahead and respond and say that mystical disruption from the pillar, the wards were not the only thing disrupted. Katagan's wards were not the only thing disrupted by it. Our wards were weakened when that wave of mystical disruption hit us. And the blight has begun to spread. And the same wards that we try to cast now are no longer strong enough to hold this corruption from spreading. And we cannot allow it to spread. It is our purpose, our duty, to protect the deep wilds from this evil. Okay, so I think that answers the question of why all of a sudden they were kidnapping Mattick. We tied it into some other arcs that we've already done in this session with the whole Iron Pillar thing. I feel like we've resolved that prompt of Cursed Past. So it seems to me like we now have a possible delve site. Okay, so hold on, let me take a look and see what we have. Okay, so we have deal with the elves that threaten Mattick. Okay, so I think we have something significant we can do here. And I think Albrun is going to say, it's a mystic you seek. I can help you as long as you promise to leave Mattick alone. The man only wants to protect his home and not be bothered. And I think Lady Anula, she kind of foresaw this, I think. And she's going to say, yes, of course. You have our word. We will not bother Mattick if you can and do indeed help us. Okay? And I think right here is a good opportunity to go ahead and mark one progress on our formidable vow for dealing with the elves that threaten Mattick. We just kind of struck a deal with them, I feel like. So I'm going to mark one box because it's a formidable vow. So that's 1 out of 10 boxes. And so now I think it's going to be... I think Albrun is going to actually start... I think Albrun... Okay, I think it's time to finally roll. I think now is the time for a gather information roll. Because we want to know the nature, I guess, the nature of this cave. What kind of information do the elves have on it? Do they have any information on it? Anything that can help us? Because it's sounding like we're going to have to delve. Okay, so let's roll gather information plus wits. Yeah, plus wits, so that's a +2. Ooh, that's a 1 on the action die, +2 is a 3, versus a 1. Oh, versus 2 1s. Strong hit with a match. Oh, okay. Strong hit with a match. Okay, on a strong hit, you discover something helpful and specific. The path you must follow or action you must take to make progress is made clear. Envision what you learn and take +2 momentum. Okay, that's cool. So now we're back up to 5 momentum. That's pretty cool. And we get some very specific information. So I think Albrun is going to ask, what is it that I will find in this cave? Okay, and these elves have had centuries to watch this cave and come up with their own theory. So I think they know the exact answer, and she's gonna say, Lady Analu, Inala, Anala, right? Inala, Lady Inula. Sorry, Lady Inula. Lady Inula is going to say, when the wind spoke to me, I got a much better idea of what is going on in that cave. We had our theories, but we could never confirm, as we could never check for ourselves. Elves, gaunts, woodland creatures, even the Varu that stalk the outsides of Fi Thalore, they all have gone missing if they stray too far into the blight. I suspect that Katagan has captured them and used him for his foul rituals, used their bodies for his dark magic. I'm sure you're aware, but as I said, Katagan was one of the first Ironlanders to arrive on this shore. You yourself are mystic, you have the Skald blood, but Katagan, he is original Skald. He is of the Skald people. We do not know much about the Skald, but we do know that they were avid necromancers. And I think that is what you will find in the cave. Dark, profane horrors that are sickly and unnatural. Okay. And so we rolled a strong hit with the match on this gather information. I think I'm gonna roll action and theme, just to kind of get an idea, because I feel like with the match there should be a little something more, I guess. Perhaps something in our favor. I don't know. So I want to roll action and theme. So let's just see what we get. Oh, 99. Charge. Charge. 36. 36. Charge world. That's not very helpful. Is there another way to resolve this match? Okay, so she just told us what it is we can find in that cave. You know what? I know what the match is. And she says, this necromancy, it's not natural. It goes against everything we elves stand for. I don't know. Hold on. I want to see if there's a proper oracle that could help us a little bit better. I don't know if the major plot twist oracle would be good, because if I remember correctly, major plot twist, it's almost all like negative stuff. Yeah, it's all negative stuff, so I don't think that's gonna help us. Charge world. What could that mean? I don't know. I think I want to roll again on action and theme and see if there's something better that can give us a little bit of inspiration on how we can resolve this match. 86. Locate. Okay, that sounds a little bit more actionable. Locate 3. Price. I don't know. Locate price. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. You know what? I got it. This was a gather information. This was a match on gather information. Okay, so, and then additionally, Lady Anula says, this necromancy, he's been doing it for centuries at this point, keeping himself. I imagine this is how he has prolonged his own lifespan. He has somehow used this necromancy to keep himself alive. But not just any magic can do something like that. The winds, when they spoke to me, they showed me, they whispered to me of something deep in that cavern that he is using to power his foul magics. I imagine that if you were to destroy this thing, it would dispel uh, any of this century long necromantic magic he's been practicing with. Okay, I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. In fact, I'm actually going to even take a note of it. There is there is something there is something in the cavern that could possibly that maybe perhaps Katagan is binding his magic to a physical object that if we should destroy or maybe even capture can give us power or leverage over this necromantic magic that Katagan is practicing. I like that. I feel like that resolves that strong hit with a match and gives us a very clear objective, which is what the strong hit of gather information is supposed to do. It says the path you must follow or action you must take to make progress is made clear. So now we know there is something in there that if we should destroy will dispel the magic that is allowing him to prolong his life and probably would kill him on the spot should we destroy it. So that's good to know. Okay. I think Albrun is going to say at this point, okay, well, what are we waiting for? Take me to this blight and let me see what I can do. Let me see about these wards. Okay, and with that, I think the Elf Lord, the warriors, and even Lady Anula herself, I think she's going to join them. They are all going to leave this building, leave Fi Thalore, and head north. Just a few leagues away, not far at all, as Fi Thalore was built in the place it was built specifically so that the elves could monitor this place. And so as we make our way through the deep wilds, with all these trees and stuff, we get closer and closer, and the leaves are starting to brown and yellow and eventually just straight up be decayed. Trees are gnarled and brittle. And there's a disgusting, like, green, white, slick sludge coming out of some of the pores of plants. I would even say some plant life has been completely like blackened as we get closer and closer, and eventually we come across a mound that is actually a cave opening, and around it is where all this disgusting like corruption is. And I think as we get closer and closer, Albrun can actually feel the disgustingness of the area. He can like feel it in his soul. And I think even Anula herself can feel it as well. Okay. And as we established, the elves cannot enter this cave. So they can only take us so far. And I think we're going to get here. And that's exactly what Anula's going to say. She's going to say, we can go no further. The wards around this place prevent us from getting any closer. And I think Albrun's going to nod. And I think we have a decision to make here. I almost want to attempt to leverage Invoke. Oh, crap. We should have sojourned. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Okay, so I think what we're going to do here is we're going to investigate. Albrun is going to nod at Inula. Yep. Albrun's going to nod at Anula, and he's going to make his way forward himself, and he's going to come to this cave entrance. And to be honest, I'm going to say that... Well, you know what? Let's ask the Oracle. Let's let the Oracle make the choice. We're going to ask the Oracle, are we able to cross the warded barrier? Obviously, we can get closer than the elves, but I'm wondering if the ward can physically prevent us, an Ironlander, a mystic at that, from getting into this cavern. So I think I'm actually just going to make it 50-50. So 0 to 50, we can get through the wards, and 51 or greater, something needs to be done about these wards before we can enter. So let's find out. Okay, 21. Okay, we can walk right past the wards. So we kind of hesitate a little bit. We look back at Inula and the Elf Lord and the warriors. We look back at the entrance to the cavern, and we tentatively step across the threshold, and we make it. And I think we can even kind of feel a little disturbance in the spiritual plane, I think, as we cross the ward, but we make it past the ward, no problem. And Anula looks at the Elf Lord and, is like, okay, yep, we found the right guy. This man can help us. And so I think that's pretty good. She's going to keep her word about not bothering Mattick as long as we can resolve whatever the heck this is. Okay, so I think now is another time to gather information and see what we can do. I can tell you, I don't think we're ready to enter the delve site, but I think since we're here, we're going to gather some information and just kind of see what happens. So we're going to gather information plus wits. That's +2. And just see what it is we can see. So that's a 2 + 2 is a 4 versus a 4 and a 10. Oh, that's a miss. Your investigation unearths a dire threat or reveals an unwelcome truth that undermines your quest. Pay the price. And I think I know exactly what... I think the price is actually pretty obvious here. I'm going to roll on the Denizen Matrix that I've already prepared for this delve site. I think a denizen of this delve site is going to be here in the cave, and we didn't take the proper precautions, and we kind of just stepped right in. So we're going to roll D100 and see what happens. 83. Oh, ooh. Okay, 83 is an undead boar. Okay, so as... Ooh, God. Okay, so as... Oh, God. Okay, so as Albrun walks into the cave and he looks around, the sunlight from outside is kind of coming into the cave's front, so he doesn't need a torch quite yet. And he's looking around, and I think he's seeing some runes carved into the stone of this cavern's first chamber. And he can definitely see a lot of signs of corruption. There's like disgusting mushrooms growing everywhere. That green white slick is like on the walls, oozing out of cracks and stuff. The place smells foul, smells like death. And I think we're gonna make just one too many steps, and all of a sudden we're gonna hear just a very pained, horrid squeal. And from deeper in the cavern, two just pit-filled eyes are going to be looking at us, and something is going to come charging at us. And as it gets into the light, we can see it is a boar, a big, huge boar with like a tusk. One of the tusks are broken off, but this is no ordinary boar. It has some of the flesh from its cheeks is missing, so you can actually see the inside of its mouth. I think its eyes look dead. It has pieces of flesh and skin missing. Its mane is matted. I would even say maybe its tail has fallen off, so it just has like a nub. It looks disgusting. It is undead, and it sounds like this might be the first time we have to enter the fray for the campaign. But you know what? I think that's actually a pretty good stopping point. So we will enter the fray next session. So thank you for watching. Yikes. Oh, God. Oh, my God. We have 2 health. Oh, God. And I'm pretty sure boars... Oh, God. Okay. we'll figure it out next session. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys for session 10. Bye.